Hey, my name is Noah Kravitz. What's going on? Look, get this thing out of the way so you can see me. My hand was probably just in the camera. Sorry about that. I went like that. This is the HTC One. I have had this cellular telephone for about 24 hours now. And so I'm making a video to tell you what I think of it. So you know, by way of background, I came to the HTC One after having used the Samsung Galaxy S3 for the better part of the past several months, alternating with the HTC One S. This is the international unlocked version, which was my go-to phone for a long time until it started dropping calls. And every once in a while I would put my SIM card back in it, thinking, oh, it won't drop calls anymore. And then, of course, it would drop calls, because why would it stop dropping calls? Anyway, so, point of reference, that's where I'm coming from. Switched to using these phones after being a long-time iPhone user. And when the home button on my iPhone 4 broke about, I don't know, a year ago now, maybe? Maybe it's longer. I decided to try to go full-time with Android. And I will tell you that I really like stock Android. I've come to really like stock Android. But I've also been a longtime fan of HTC's hardware. And so actually, let me pull back a little bit here. Actually have been running the Pac-Man ROM, Android 4.2, on the One S. Didn't help with the drop calls. And so coming over to the HTC One running Android 4.1.2, I believe, Jelly Bean, with Sense 5. Sense 5 in particular, a little bit of a shock to the system, as I know it has been for the Android faithful who've gotten the early review units, and now the phone is available. It's on sale through AT&T, so maybe some of you have it as well. There's Blink Feed, which you can see. I just I set it up, turned it off. I use Pulse. I like Pulse. I don't want to have. This is just a matter of personal preference. I don't actually want to have constant updates on my home screen from people from all of my social networks. And the latest news that matters to me, I use Pulse. So I set up Blink Feed a little bit, turned it off. I like the weather widget. It took me a while to figure out how to customize the icons in the dock, because just what HTC has done their own thing in Sense. I'm not going to go too deep into it now, but their own thing in Sense as far as how the app drawer works and how all this stuff works. And like, you can't drag things in and out of the dock from here. See if I go to a new, I put it there. It shows up, but it still stays there anyway. And so what you actually have to do is you have to go to the app drawer. And then from the app drawer, like Chrome doesn't show up in the app drawer. See, it would be between Chinook Book and Clock, but it's not there. Because it's down here. And so, whoops, go back. And so in order to, but from here I could drag it back, and now I've got an empty space, I could put something else in. It's just, it's a little confusing how, they sort of took this idea of the home screen and the apps and the icons and the app drawer and sort of gave it their own thing. I think if you were coming to an Android phone for the first time ever, or a smartphone for the first time ever, it might be a little helpful, because actually in your app drawer you've got these handy dandy little things to help you sort how the apps are shown. You can search for your apps, which is kind of nice. You can go straight to the Play Store. You can get to your settings. You can change the grid size if you want, all that kind of thing. But it's just not the way that, Android 4 or 4.1 or 4.2, it's not the way it looks. And so confusing. Also confusing, has been widely noted, is how the you only have two buttons here. The HTC logo is not a button. The home button's on the right, your back button's on the left. There is no multitask button. The HTC logo is not a button. I've tapped it once or twice, but it's not actually a button. You can get to the multitasking by double tapping. You can get to search by long pressing. See, I'm trying to go home there. Can't go home there. So, it just takes some getting used to. As for the phone itself, because this isn't really, like I said, I'm not going to dive deep here, just some kind of quick impressions after a day. It's a beautiful, beautiful piece of hardware. I've long liked HTC's hardware. The One S was one of my favorite pieces of phone hardware of all time. Ultra thin, the arc oxidized metal body, just really lovely. The One S, beautiful, with the silver and the very subtle white accents. And the screen, the full 1080p screen, is as good as they say. It's gorgeous. But here's the thing. After using it, and granted, it's only been, a day, the screen is beautiful, but is it really that much better than a 720p display at this size? I don't know. The One S here is not 720p, but the new HTC First, the Facebook phone, if you will, is 720p, but it's a little bit smaller at 4.3 inches. And even though this is smaller, the One with its 4.7 inch display is smaller than the Samsung Galaxy S, which is like a 4.8. It's got a narrower bezel and it's just physically a little bit smaller. It's still fairly large, and it just might be larger than what I want for a phone. So I'm still really interested in the First, but running stock Android. And that's the other part of it, is that the First comes with stock Android instead of HTC's take on it. And, it's only been a day, get used to it, blah, 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 but I kind of miss stock Android. Obviously, I could, apparently the AT&T version of the One, which I have, is, you can unlock the bootloader, but haven't tried to do that yet. Anyway, you can unlock the bootloader and flash a ROM on there, and et cetera, but I don't know. Looking at it like this, the idea of a less expensive phone, a little bit lighter, a little bit thinner in the First, still interesting to me. The flip side is that the camera on the First is apparently not that good. The camera on the One is, of course, the ultra pixel camera. Kudos to HTC for getting out of the megapixel arms race. Then again, is the camera actually any good? Well, I'll do some photo testing. So far it seems fine, but I haven't actually tried to test it in a scientific way. Do some photo testing, post those photos somewhere for you. The phone has the much ballyhooed boom sound, the dual speakers on the front. Sorry, I just lost my light source there. Bad lighting in here, but oh well. The speakers do sound really nice. Probably the best sounding phone I've ever tried. I have streamed audio via Bluetooth to my car stereo. Works great. Actually, haven't plugged headphones into this yet, but I've done listening to music and some calls on the car stereo. They sound great. Don't text and drive. One funny thing about this phone is that the curved back, it feels good in the hand, but when it's flat on a table, it's prone to wobbling. And if you really want it to lay flat, like again in the car, I tend to slide my phone into a little empty space I have, I'm miming for you, underneath my car stereo. Put it in there like this and it slides around. So the only way to get it to stay still is to turn it over on the front. And I'm always wary of turning a phone over, laying it down face down, because the one part of your device, your phone, that you really don't want to scratch is, of course, the front glass. You scratch the back, it's too bad, it doesn't look as nice. You scratch the front and it's not as nice to use. So, that's a little disconcerting. The One S had a little bit of wobble to it, but not nearly as much as this, The internals of this phone are stacked up like a pyramid, kind of with a lot of the internals, spread out across the plane of the top of the device, and then they're sort of narrowed down towards the bottom, and so you get that effect. What else can I tell you? Voice quality has been really good. Calls have been clear. LTE speeds have been good so far. I'm on AT&T on the LTE network. This is mostly me talking, not actually showing you stuff. The phone is super quick. Things just render very quickly. Once they load up, boom, boom. Oh, look, there's ricin at a mail facility. Lovely. Anyway, we'll go to a site that I have started checking a lot lately. You can see I was doing all these searches to figure out how do I reconfigure the launch bar there. I finally figured it out. Giz China, I've become sort of fascinated with the market for Chinese cell phones and and tablets as of late. A little slow loading now, might be my Wi-Fi network. But once the page loads, renders pretty quickly. This phone has just been lightning fast to use so far. Camera launches very quickly. I'm face down, so you're not actually going to see anything. So there you go. So all in all, you know, it's a really, really lovely piece of hardware, very fast. The screen is beautiful. I'm not going to say it's overkill. You can't actually see me there. I'm hiding behind the camera. I'm not going to go so far as to say it's overkill, but I will say that I'd be very curious to get this next to a quality 720p display and see if you really notice that much of a difference. Compared to QHD and, you know, that kind of stuff from last year, definitely on its own merits, just one of the best smartphone screens out there. I don't know if it quite has the pop of the Droid DNA, but still really, really lovely. Anyway, I noticed the phone getting a little bit warm yesterday. At one point I'd heard, I think it was Brad from Engadget maybe, or no, Dan Seifert from The Verge, I think, told me that his review unit got very, very warm while he was testing it. I did not burn my hand or fry an egg on it, but I did notice it getting warm, so we'll keep an eye on that. And battery life, I only used it for about 2/3 of the day yesterday, and battery life did get low. So, you know, we'll see by the end of the day today what it's like. Anyway, so far so good. I do kind of miss, yeah, my battery life's good today. I've been on Wi-Fi most of the day, though, not on LTE. So, there you go. Warriors won last night. Steph Curry. Just fantastic. Day one with the HTC One, definitely a thumbs up. Is it going to be my go-to phone, the next phone that I purchase for myself? Not sure yet. Stay tuned for more. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.